Jessica for um, she is the burn unit dietitian, and I will pass it to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Like she said, my name is Jessica LaForce, and I have been the burn unit dietitian for the last 20 years. So this is a topic very near and dear to my heart, and I really appreciate being invited to speak with you today. So today we're going to talk about nutrition for burn recovery, rebuilding strength and energy safely. So we'll talk a little bit about why nutrition matters after burn injury, both in the acute phase when you're in the hospital and then even after you go home. We'll also talk about balanced meal planning, really look at going back to those basic concepts for good nutrition. We'll also dive into protein supplements and look at the pros and cons of those, and then also look at the pros and cons of energy drinks. So initially, those burn injuries will trigger a hypermetabolic state, meaning that the body's metabolism can really double compared to normal conditions in some of the most severe injuries. And this raises an individual's needs for calories and protein, vitamins and minerals to support wound healing, support your immune function, and preserve your muscle mass and strength. And without proper nutrition, burn survivors can face slower healing times, higher infection risks, and also severe muscle loss and weakness. So nutrition plays a really important role in reducing complications and improving recovery. I think we're all well aware of the importance of nutrition immediately after a burn injury. And a balanced diet will ensure that you're getting all of the adequate nutrients, enough energy, and substrate to repair those tissues and maintain your lean body mass or your muscle. And the dietitian's role is to help guide survivors in meeting these nutrition needs safely and effectively, both during the hospital stay and then after discharge. So let's first take a look at balanced meal planning. After you leave the hospital, eating a balanced diet is really the best way to continue your recovery. So there really is no special or unique formulation to good nutrition after you get home. Remember, though, that your body now needs less calories than what you required when you were hospitalized. And as you continue to heal, your nutrition needs will continue to return closer to baseline. But this could take a year or longer. Everyone's different, and it really depends on the extent of the burn injury, your stage in the recovery process, and a lot of other factors. In the hospital, you are probably used to eating really big meals, drinking nutrition supplements, eating snacks, just to keep up with the large demand on your body for this higher nutrition need. And so your appetite could be a lot bigger when you get home. Your body's used to having these large meals. So now it's really important to focus back on a balanced diet. Focus on eating a moderate portion of lean meat, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, and dairy. Exercise is also going to be really important for long-term health, and then avoiding also like chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. But it's also going to be really important to rebuild your muscle mass and then your strength and your energy. So it's important to have that conversation with your care provider regarding how much and which exercises are safe for you based on where you're at. So looking at those principles of a balanced diet for burn survivors, I mean, really, this is the same guide for any, typical human. We need proteins. This is going to be essential for tissue repair, healing, immune function. So really focus on those lean meats, like chicken breast, lean cuts of beef, fish, eggs, dairy, beans, tofu and nuts are going to give you those good plant-based proteins. Fruits and vegetables, they're going to give you that fiber, the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that your body's still needing to support your immune system, rebuild your energy, And you're going to get those from fresh fruits and vegetables. That would be the best source. If that's not available, frozen vegetables and fruits are just as fine. Canned fruits and vegetables, being mindful about any added sodium or sugars to that. And you can also mix them into your foods. You can mix them into a recipe like a soup or add them to a smoothie. You don't have to eat just the raw vegetable or fruit to get all of the benefits. And then we have whole grains. These are going to give you, again, another source of energy, fiber for gut health. And the best choices for these are going to be the whole grains. So your brown rice, your whole wheat bread, to get all of those vitamins and the fiber that is lost when the refining process happens. So a lot of those nutrients are missing in white rice and white bread, things like that. We also really need healthy fats. Fat is a really important nutrient. It's a great source of calories, but it also gives you those essential fatty acids that you need for immunity, for your brain health, and things like nuts, avocado, and plant-based oils like olive oil, even avocado oil are great options to add, to your salads when you're cooking, and throughout your other meals. And then lastly, fluid is still very essential, especially if you still have open wounds where you might be losing fluid through. It's really important to stay hydrated throughout the day. So water, herbal tea, juices, sports drinks, things like that will be good choices for fluid. Aiming for about 6 to 8 cups a day as a standard rule of thumb is great. Your individual needs might be a little bit more or less depending on, your height, your body size, and the other comorbidities, like if you have kidney disease or heart failure, if you're active, if you are making sweat and it's hot outside, so your needs might be a little different. So the easiest place to start is with MyPlate. Hopefully this diagram is familiar to you, but this is a really great template to start building balance, variation, and moderation onto your plate. So with MyPlate, it's a quick and easy guide to portion out the major food groups. So your protein will be about a quarter of your plate. Your grains, your whole grains will be another quarter of your plate. Your fresh produce, your fruits and vegetables should make up about half of your plate. And then dairy on the side as a beverage or a side dish, whether it's like yogurt or cheese or something like that, or you can incorporate it into your meal. There are lots of great ideas, recipes, and different menus. At myplate.gov, I have the website here. And what's really great about this is that it's really adaptable for anybody at any stage of life, regardless of your personal preferences, your cultural preferences, your budget, and your culinary skill. So it doesn't require any measuring. You don't have to track calories or grams of protein. And it really encourages small changes that can be sustained in the long run. So I just wanted to show a few examples of how MyPlate can be used, even if it doesn't look like that standard template. So with this stew dish, we have our grains on the side. We have some healthy fat with the avocado, some meat, and then what looks like potatoes, so that would be another starch, and then some great vegetables here mixed into the soup. So if you were to lay it out on a plate, it would, approximately fit onto these portions of the MyPlate guide. Same thing with this pork dish. We have your protein, lots of fresh green beans that have been sauteed, and some mashed potatoes. Again, that can still fit on this MyPlate template. And then these are 2 mixed dish options. This is more of like a rice dish, a casserole, if you will. And so rather than having it on one plate, the method still works here. You have a large portion of salad. If you were to put this on a big dinner plate, it would make up about half of the plate. You have some rice with some more vegetables mixed in, which is great. More vegetables are always welcome. And then you have some lean chicken here. It looks like, I would guess that's chicken. And then this is, it looks like a vermicelli bowl, some noodles, maybe some tofu or chicken. I can't tell what that is, and lots of vegetables. So again, we're hitting all of the major groups. I don't see any dairy here. That would be the one thing that's missing. You can always add in a glass of milk or get that in a different way, maybe as a snack with some yogurt. But again, it's achievable regardless of the type of dish that you're preparing with a little thought and portioning. And then this is just a sample menu to show you how easily it can be put together into 3 meals and 2 snacks. Now this is 1,800 calories and 103 grams of protein. Your personal needs might be a little more or less. But again, going through, you have, like with breakfast, you have some eggs for protein, you have some whole wheat toast, a banana, and milk. Breakfast, I will say, is one of the harder meals to get vegetables in. If you can, you're a rock star. Keep doing what you're doing. If you're not currently adding vegetables into your breakfast, there's always ways that you can think about sneaking them in, whether you're adding spinach to a smoothie in the morning, sauteing up some eggs with some spinach again, or some bell peppers, things like that. Some people like a savory breakfast, so that works too. And there's even some ice cream built in because I believe every food can fit, and I like my sweets too. So, all right, protein supplements. So you have probably had it drilled into you that protein is the focus. Protein, protein, protein. Where are you getting your protein at? You know, here's a protein drink, here's some protein powder. And so it does have its place. It can be beneficial, especially to our burn survivors who are really struggling to meet their elevated protein needs with food alone. The volume of protein that can be required to help support your recovery can be very daunting. So these protein supplements provide a really convenient and concentrated source of high quality protein, which can contain all of the essential amino acids that you need for tissue repair and immune function during your recovery. Supplements can also be helpful if your appetite is still low or if chewing is difficult. And supplements can help to get these additional calories and protein when food alone is just not cutting it. Let's see. So just to put in perspective how much protein you need, when you're in the hospital right after the burn injury and you're recovering, your protein needs are really high. Our guidelines are 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram per day. Most of us think in pounds, not kilograms. That would be about 0.6 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound. Now that's during the immediate recovery period when you're getting surgeries, you have grafts, you have donor sites, and you still have open wounds that are healing. That should start to drop down as your wounds heal to maybe about 0.4 to 0.5 grams of protein per pound. But everybody's long-term needs are going to be a little bit different. So your protein needs definitely will decrease as you recover. And you don't want to continue this really high protein load for longer than necessary because it does have some side effects, which we'll get into. And these powders are really easy to incorporate. You can mix them into water. You can mix them into a smoothie. You can do plain protein and mix them into soups and mashed potatoes. So there's a lot of versatility with them. So there is a downside to protein supplements too. First and foremost, there's a lack of regulation. The FDA does not regulate these supplements like any other vitamin supplement, herbal supplement, which means that they can contain contaminants like heavy metals. There was an article that came out recently regarding the concern for lead contamination in some protein supplements. And so they also may contain fillers and artificial sweeteners or other additives that could have some undesired health effects if you're not um, savvy in reading labels. There also can be quite high, these can be quite high in sugar and extra calories, especially those that add extra sugar to them. And then some of them add some fat sources as well, because some protein powders can be used for people that are trying to gain weight for like lifting competitions and things like that. So there's different goals with different supplements. And so for our burn survivors, some people experience high blood sugar related to the stress of the injury. And so controlling that blood sugar is really important. And there may not be a need or desire for this extra sugar. So we really have to watch out for those supplements that have sugar in them. They can also cause digestive issues like bloating or diarrhea, which could be common. Some of them contain lactose because a lot of the protein supplements are derived from milk protein, so there could be some lactose in it. There might also be sugar alcohols to add sweetness without the sugar, and that can have a laxative effect, especially like xylitol and erythritol. And there could be other additives like prebiotics. Some people don't tolerate that well. It's a form of fiber that might not be completely digested, and it could be fermented in your gut by the bacteria, causing some bloating. Not everybody tolerates it well. So just some things to be aware of. And then lastly, these protein supplements may end up replacing whole foods. And we always want to promote whole foods first for all of the nutrients that these foods have, rather than focusing on a single nutrient like in the protein supplement. And so if you're relying so much on protein supplements, whether it's bars, shakes, powders, that you're so full and you don't want to eat other foods, that could be an issue. Also, too much protein can strain your kidneys. It can lead to dehydration. And they also can really add up cost-wise. They're not cheap. And so depending on your budget, you might be better off spending your money on whole foods than protein supplements. So just a little comparison here. These are two different protein powders. This one on the left is IsoPure protein powder, and the one on the right is Muscle Milk. And you really have to be a little bit of a food detective and a label reader when you're picking out a protein supplement. And I don't have a ton of time to go through all the details, but first and foremost, you want to look at the serving size, and they vary. So this serving size is 1 scoop, and the serving size on the right for Muscle Milk is 2 scoops. So for 2 scoops of Muscle Milk, you'll get 32 grams of protein. And for 1 scoop of IsoPure Tropical Punch, you'll get 20 grams of protein. So if you were, switching from, Muscle Milk to IsoPure, and you were thinking, oh, my protein powders always need 2 scoops, you didn't read the food label, you would get a significantly heftier dose of protein. If you did 2 scoops of IsoPure, you'd get 40 grams of protein instead of the 20 grams. And then you also want to look at the additives. This IsoPure protein powder is nice. There's very few additives. There's the whey protein isolate, which is your protein source, stevia for sweetener, and then some coloring. There are more nutrients added to the Muscle Milk, but some things that catch my eye, there's some fiber added. There's a little bit of oil added, so that's going to add additional calories. And medium chain triglycerides, that's another fat source. Sucralose will add, and the sulfame potassium will add some sweetener. And then there's some vitamins and minerals added as well, which you can see listed here on the food label. So there's quite a difference between the two. Okay, so how to choose a protein supplement. So it's going to be different for everybody. But first, we want to look at your source of protein. So we want a high quality protein with minimal added sugar. That would be my preference for anybody that's choosing a supplement. And really it depends on if you prefer an animal or a plant-based source. Animal sources are going to have more complete proteins. They will have, most of them will have all of the essential amino acids that your body needs for muscle um, healing, tissue regeneration, and muscle strength. Um, but if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you may have a preference for a plant-based protein, which is totally fine. Whey isolate and whey concentrate, casein are all made from milk proteins. Those are all fine. Whey protein is easily digested, so it does tend to be in more protein supplements than casein. And then there's also some that might contain egg protein, beef protein, collagen. Those are all animal sources. Plant sources might come from pea protein, soy, hemp, or rice. Again, all of those are fine, depending on how you incorporate them into your foods, how they mix into fluids if you're going to drink them in a smoothie or a beverage, and then what flavor profile you're going for. Do beware of added caffeine, sweeteners, especially sugar, or sugar alcohols, because it could cause some laxative side effects. Prebiotics, that might be something that you're going for your gut health, totally fine. Some people don't tolerate it very well, so you just want to be aware. If you're getting a little bloating or diarrhea after having your protein supplement, it might have some prebiotics. And then vitamins and minerals, those are usually okay, but we want to make sure that they're not providing more than 100% of the DRI, which is what's indicated on the food label here. So we do want to be mindful of that. And think about, if you are taking a lot of other vitamin and mineral supplements, you want to be careful that you're not getting excessive doses. Okay, so energy drinks. Energy drinks can be really appealing to reach for when our energy levels are depleted. So they provide a quick, temporary boost in alertness and concentration because of the caffeine. And so, yeah, it's really tempting to reach for that when you're just really dragging. There are some additional nutrients that could be added. Some energy drinks will add vitamins or amino acids or other stimulants to enhance performance. However, these benefits are really limited to the mental stimulation and energy burst and don't really contribute to your nutritional recovery, and they don't replace proper nutrition and hydration. So what are some cons? Well, first and foremost, these beverages can contain really high levels of caffeine and sugar, which can lead to dehydration, spikes in your blood sugar, and then energy crashes. According to the FDA, about 400 milligrams of caffeine a day is generally considered safe for most adults. A standard cup of coffee has about 90 milligrams of caffeine, and that's for an 8-ounce cup. But it really depends on the concentration of the coffee, the size of your cup, and how many you're drinking. So 400 milligrams would be about 2 or 3 12-ounce cups of coffee, which I think is a standard serving size for most people with their coffee. There's also a wide variety in how sensitive people are to caffeine, and some medications or conditions can make people more sensitive to the caffeine side effects. So some side effects they're really cardiovascular related. So you might experience an increase in your heart rate, heart palpitations, arrhythmias, high blood pressure. There actually have been case reports of strokes occurring due to excessive caffeine consumption and high blood pressure. It also can make it hard for you to fall asleep, so leading to insomnia, can cause headaches, jitteriness or anxiety, and digestive issues. Caffeine also has a stimulating effect in your gut, so it can cause diarrhea as well. There's also other, like I mentioned, stimulating effects or stimulating ingredients that could be added, like taurine, guarana, and ginseng. So it's not just the caffeine that's added, it's these other stimulating herbs and supplements that can give you even more of these side effects. There are some healthier alternatives. Okay, so if we're looking at hydration, water, coconut water, sports drinks, even coffee, black or green tea or matcha, which do have caffeine, but in smaller quantities and controllable quantities, those should be fine. And then herbal teas. And then as far as energy, like lifestyle changes to increase your energy, getting good sleep, going back to the basics, balanced meals, good nutrition, and then exercise are going to be the best long-term positive effects that you, or positive changes that you can make to support your energy. And so just real quickly to show you this 5-hour energy, I think we've all seen it in gas stations. It's a little like shot, it's like 2 ounces a shot of energy. It's not just the caffeine that's added, as you can see here in this red box. There's also taurine that's added, tyrosine, phenylalanine, which are some other amino acids. And the energy blend, this has 1870 milligrams of energy blend. Now, who knows how much actual like caffeine and stimulating properties there are, but it's just a really confusing, vague label here, and really probably nobody has any business consuming this. If you also look, they added a ton of some B vitamins way above the 100% daily value that we wanted to limit it to. B vitamins are of interest because they do help with energy. And then you can see over here on the left, there's such a large variation in the amount of caffeine. And so coffee for a 12-ounce cup, again, it's about 100, 120, maybe a little bit higher if you're really doing a strong brewed coffee. Energy drinks are highly variable, 41 to 246 milligrams. But you also get caffeine from other sources too, soft drinks, herbal teas, green and black teas. So it does add up. So some key takeaways, burn survivors really would benefit from focusing on prioritizing whole foods and hydration over quick fixes like protein supplements and energy drinks. Nutrition is really the cornerstone of your continued recovery. And by focusing on balanced meal planning and avoiding harmful beverages, you can continue to support your own healing, regain your strength and your muscle mass, and reduce any further complications. So supplements do have a place at times, but really talk with your healthcare provider about what role those play in your recovery. And, really the focus should be on those nutrient-rich meals. All right, and I am willing to take questions if you have any. Thank you.
I'll kick it off with a question. So I know of some folks in the burn community and beyond who are maybe a little dependent on energy drinks, and it's just the way the lifestyle is for them right now, and that might mean like 2 or 3 a day. Would you say it's like a sleep issue that is the starting point for that, or where would you suggest they start to wean themselves away from energy drinks?
Yeah, I mean, I think that potentially cutting down, if they're doing 3 a day, maybe try to cut down to 2 a day. It's going to be hard to have really good sleep hygiene if they're continuing to consume these stimulants. So that can be a little challenging, maybe trying to drink them earlier in the day rather than in the afternoon or evening. Just trying to wean themselves off of those energy drinks. And then I would say, as able, trying to incorporate some activity, whether it's going for walks, depending on where their stamina and their mobility are, trying to do some walks if that's possible, or swimming if that's possible. Whatever is in their realm right now. And then maybe trying to replace it, with some green tea or matcha. Actually, matcha is really nice because it does have caffeine, but it has also has an amino acid called L-theanine, which has an anti-anxiolytic, so it reduces anxiety compared to coffee. And so that is a really nice benefit of choosing green tea or matcha over coffee or black tea or energy drinks.
It's fabulous. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can concur with Val's observation because there's a generation that they that you can just tell they need to do that and just to get going in their day, and it's such a hard thing to see, um, and that's the matcha. It's like that makes so much sense because it's unique and it's something that they could easily see. It's a great trend, or someone has some ideas on it, but really it's so hard to break these
It
truly
is.
caffeinated. I mean, I'm a black iced tea guy, uh, you know, and I know that I'm not going to do more than one of these a day,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my caffeine because I quit drinking coffee in college. But it's um, that addictive personality that we as peer supporters come up against, and it's like, oh, dude, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of a crutch, right? The people that I know that drink energy drinks, it's not just one a day, it's usually multiple. And I think that's where it starts to become really dangerous
Mhm.
because you're not really appreciating like the cumulative effects of all those stimulants.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually on CNN had an article come through the last 24 hours about a gentleman who was in his 50s, perfect health, avid runner, um, went to the emergency room with a stroke, ended up having a stroke, really, really high blood pressure. And by chance happened to mention to his doctors after they kind of ruled out all like contributing factors that he was drinking, I think, something like 4 to 6 energy drinks a day, not realizing what an impact it was having on his health.
Wow.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter wanted one, and she'll drink them every now and then. And I just said, pick one out. We've got to check out. The next day, she texted me because her body was itching. She was
Oh.
flushing. And this not knowing what she did, I said, did you take something? Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
had niacin in it. And I just
Mm,
paid attention. So obviously we won't buy those anymore. But I mean, that's something to be aware of. I mean, it was so easy just to pick it up and
right.
eat it. And that can be really scary, especially for a young adult.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of smoothies, maybe
Mm.
once, as a Saturday treat. And I'm when I get my little protein from Jamba, they'll say soy or whey, and I'm thinking, is soy just the plant-based, and whey is the milk whey. It's
Yep.
the okay.
Hmm.
You'd think I'd learn that by now.
That's okay. And honestly, both are great choices. It just depends. They both have a little bit of an aftertaste when you add them to your Jamba juice
Yeah.
smoothie. So it just depends on if you're okay with that, which one works
Well,
better for you.
I have to take a lactase because I'm older Latino, lactose intolerant,
Hmm.
classic,
Yeah.
and um and I've I stick with the soy because the way I've had it once before, and it just I'm thinking,
Doesn't settle
oh,
well.
that's the one that caused me really digestive issues.
Yeah.
Um, amazed. It's education, my friend. That's what we need.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love smoothies too. I could talk all day long about smoothies.
Our next talk can be about smoothie.
There you
Yeah.
go.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you so much, Oscar. That was amazing. I actually texted Allie during it and was like, "Can we show this to our staff because it's just overall good information. I think it's great for burn survivors and great for learning about, everything with nutrition. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. It's wonderful.